Hey there, and welcome to Room 57, where the mysterious, the bizarre, and the chilling come to life. Tonight, we're diving into one of Italy's most enigmatic and unsettling cases of crime that occurred on August 13, 2007, in the historic city of Pavia, northern Italy. This is the story of the staircase mystery, where a violent act unfolded in a seemingly ordinary place. Yet it left investigators and the community with far more questions than answers. Imagine walking up a quiet, historic staircase on a warm, summer night, the kind of place that has been part of the city's life for centuries. Now imagine that same staircase turning into a crime scene, a trap that would unravel lives, challenge assumptions, and leave a haunting question: who is really responsible and why? On that fateful night, a person was attacked under circumstances so strange that even after the arrest of a suspect, the case remained shrouded in mystery. Was it premeditated or a crime of opportunity? What were the motives hidden beneath the surface of a sleepy northern Italian town? And how could a single location of staircase become the epicenter of such a perplexing tragedy? Tonight, we'll walk you through the details, the timeline of events on August 13, 2007, the victim's story, the initial discovery, the investigation, and the strange clues that still puzzle experts today. This is not just a crime story, it's a psychological puzzle, a web of intrigue, and a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary places can hold the darkest secrets. Part 1. The Night of the Staircase, Pavia's Dark Secret. Welcome to Room 57, where the unexplained, the eerie, and the downright chilling stories of real-life crime come to life. Tonight, we take you to Pavia, a city in northern Italy steeped in history, cobblestone streets, and centuries-old architecture. It is a city that, under the quiet veil of night, hides secrets few would dare to imagine. On August 13, 2007, a seemingly ordinary staircase in Pavia became the epicenter of one of the most mysterious and unsettling crimes in Italian history, a case that continues to baffle authorities and intrigue the public even years later. This is the story of the staircase mystery of Pavia, an incident in which a crime occurred in broad daylight on a historic staircase. A suspect was eventually arrested, yet the true motives, the sequence of events, and several critical questions remain unanswered. Tonight, we begin our journey into the night that changed everything. A historic city and a quiet night, Pavia is known for its unassuming charm, a city of narrow streets, ancient buildings, and historical landmarks that have witnessed centuries of life. On the night of August 13, 2007, most residents were enjoying a warm summer evening, walking the streets, visiting cafes, or returning home after late shifts. But one location, a staircase nestled between two old buildings in the city center, was about to become the scene of something dark and inexplicable. This staircase was not just a set of steps, it was a piece of history constructed decades earlier. It had been traversed by thousands of locals and tourists alike. Its stone steps were worn from centuries of use, and the walls were marked with time and occasional graffiti. By day, it was ordinary, almost mundane, but by night, under dim streetlights and long shadows, it became a stage for something sinister. The evening itself was calm. The summer air was warm, but slightly humid, carrying the distant sounds of the city, the faint chatter of pedestrians, the distant rumble of traffic, and the occasional bark of a dog. Nobody could have imagined that a violent confrontation was about to shatter the night's calm. The discovery, an ordinary staircase turned crime scene incident, began quietly. The victim, whose identity has been partially withheld for legal reasons, had gone about their normal routine. Friends and neighbors would later describe them as ordinary, cautious, and reserved. Someone who had no enemies and lived a predictable life. That night, however, their paths led them to the historic staircase, a place they might have climbed hundreds of times before without incident. What happened next is still partially unclear, and it is precisely this uncertainty that makes the case so perplexing. Investigators would later reconstruct fragments of the night, signs of a struggle, evidence suggesting a confrontation rather than a random accident, and the presence of objects out of place. But the sequence of events, the initial spark that led to the attack, and the full identity of those involved remained elusive. When the authorities were alerted, they found the victim in a state of distress, injured in ways that suggested more than a simple fall. The staircase, narrow and steep in places, had likely contributed to the severity of the injuries. But what made the situation more chilling were the anomalies at the scene. Evidence appeared inconsistent. Some objects were disturbed, others seemed deliberately placed, and footprints suggested multiple people may have been present. Neighbors reported hearing strange noises in the evening, muffled voices, a sudden commotion, and then silence. Yet when anyone ventured near the staircase, the scene seemed undisturbed except for the unmistakable signs of a violent encounter. The fact that this crime occurred in such a public yet secluded location only deepened the mystery. The victim, a life interrupted. The victim in this case was a resident of Pavia who, according to friends and family, had lived a quiet and predictable life. They had no history of criminal activity and, by all accounts, were not involved in disputes or conflicts that could easily explain such an attack. This contradiction between the apparent innocence of the victim and the violence of the crime became a central question for investigators. The injuries sustained were severe enough to warrant immediate medical attention, yet beyond the physical trauma, the psychological impact was profound. For the people of Pavia, a city that had prided itself on its safety and history, the incident was shocking. It was as though a dark undercurrent had been revealed beneath. The city's picturesque streets dot the victim's family, friends, and neighbors were left grappling with fear, confusion, and disbelief. How could such an act occur in the middle of a familiar, public place? And why on that particular staircase, on that fateful night? The staircase as a symbol staircase itself became more than just the scene of a crime. It became a symbol of the mystery. Investigators noted several key points that made the staircase significant. Seclusion amid public space. The staircase was tucked away between buildings, making it visible but still offering privacy. This combination of exposure and concealment made it an ideal location for a confrontation. Structural features, narrow steps, uneven surfaces, and limited handrails may have contributed to the difficulty of defending oneself, escalating what might have been a minor altercation into something far more dangerous. Historical significance. The staircase had been part of the city's daily life for decades, making the crime feel particularly invasive and unsettling to residents. These factors suggested that the location was either chosen deliberately by the perpetrator or selected by chance in a way that amplified the danger. Investigators debated whether the staircase itself played a role in the timing or method of the attack. The investigation begins. Italian authorities launched a comprehensive investigation immediately. Police cordoned off the staircase, collecting forensic evidence such as fingerprints, fibers, and any trace of the attacker. They interviewed neighbors, nearby shopkeepers, and anyone who might have been in the vicinity. However, the investigation quickly faced challenges. No direct witnesses. Despite the public location, nobody saw the attack unfold in real time. Most of what investigators relied on were indirect observations and circumstantial evidence. Disturbed scene. Foot traffic and curious onlookers inadvertently compromised potential clues, complicating the reconstruction of the events. Conflicting reports. Witnesses offered different accounts of noises, movements, and times, creating confusion and multiple investigative leads. Forensic experts meticulously analyzed every piece of evidence. The footprints, broken objects, and traces of struggle were pieced together like a jigsaw puzzle. Each fragment suggested a struggle, possibly involving more than one person. Though no conclusive determination could be made at the time, the arrest and lingering questions. Eventually, a suspect was identified and arrested. But even after this arrest, many critical questions remained unanswered. What was the motive behind the attack? Was it personal revenge, a financial dispute, or something more sinister? How exactly did the events unfold on the staircase? Were there accomplices involved? Why was this staircase chosen, and why on August 13, 2007? Was there significance to the date or location? The arrest brought temporary relief to the community, but the shadow of doubt lingered. Residents of Pavia were left wondering whether they truly understood what had happened, and investigators admitted that not all aspects of the crime could be explained with the available evidence. A case that captured the city's staircase mystery of Pavia became an enduring topic of fascination and fear. Newspapers chronicled the incident extensively, journalists interviewed neighbors, and the case was dissected on Italian crime shows. Everyone wanted answers, but the truth remained tantalizingly out of reach. For many, this case is a reminder that even familiar places can harbor danger, and that sometimes crimes are committed with a logic that is nearly impossible for outsiders to understand. The combination of a public yet secluded location, the severity of the attack, and the unanswered questions surrounding motive and method created a story that is both tragic and hypnotically mysterious. Conclusion of Part 1. The night of August 13, 2007 transformed a quiet staircase in Pavia into a scene of violence and intrigue. The victim, an ordinary resident, became part of a story that defied easy explanation. The staircase, once a symbol of history and everyday life, now symbolizes mystery, danger, and the unanswered questions that continue to haunt Pavia. In the following parts of this series, we will dive deeper into the suspect, the investigation, the theories surrounding the motive, and the mysteries that remain unsolved. Peeling back the layers of one of Italy's most enigmatic crimes. Stay tuned as we explore the staircase mystery, where every shadow hides a question and every step could reveal a new secret. Part 2. The investigation and the suspect. Chasing shadows in Pavia. The night of August 13, 2007 left Pavia shaken, its quiet streets forever marked by the violent incident on a historic staircase. Part 1 laid out the scene, a public yet secluded staircase, a victim caught off guard, and a trail of physical evidence that hinted at a struggle. But as dawn broke over the cobblestone streets, the real work of uncovering the truth began. The investigation. Italian authorities quickly realized that this case would be unlike many others. The physical evidence alone was perplexing. Footprints suggested more than one person may have been involved, but witness accounts were sparse and often contradictory. CCTV cameras in nearby streets had gaps, leaving a critical window of time unrecorded, and most unnerving of all, there appeared to be no obvious motive. Investigators knew that solving this crime would require patience, precision, and an ability to think like the perpetrator. Every detail, no matter how small, could lead them closer to the truth. Initial leads and early investigation first hours after the incident were crucial. Police quickly cordoned off the staircase and surrounding area, attempting to preserve every trace of evidence. Investigators meticulously photographed the scene, noting the position of the victim, the state of the steps, and the placement of objects that could indicate a struggle. Neighbors were interviewed extensively. Most described the staircase as quiet in the evenings, frequented by local residents, but rarely bustling. Some reported hearing noises around the time of the incident, shouts, the sound of a scuffle, but no one saw the attacker directly. Others claimed to have noticed a suspicious individual lingering nearby in the hours before the crime. Investigators began compiling a list of potential suspects. They considered individuals with a known conflict with the victim, locals who had been seen near the staircase in the days leading up to the incident, people who had the knowledge and physical ability to commit the attack in such a confined and precarious location. Even at this early stage, it became clear that the attacker might have planned the crime carefully. The staircase's isolation at night suggested the perpetrator had chosen the location intentionally, knowing that it offered privacy, but still kept them within reach of witnesses if needed. The breakthrough, identifying the suspected, took several weeks of painstaking investigation, but authorities eventually identified a primary suspect, a local resident, with a complex personal history and connections to both the victim and the staircase area. According to police reports, this individual had a history of minor offenses, but nothing that would suggest a violent confrontation of this magnitude. What made this suspect stand out were inconsistencies in their story. During interviews, they could not explain their whereabouts at the time of the crime with certainty. Witnesses claimed to have seen someone matching their description near the staircase in the evening hours. Moreover, forensic evidence, including partial fingerprints and shoe prints, appeared to match the suspect's profile. Authorities moved cautiously. Italy's legal system requires rigorous evidence, and investigators knew that circumstantial proof alone would not secure a conviction. They gathered every piece of material evidence, conducted interviews with dozens of witnesses, and reviewed any historical conflicts the suspect may have had with the victim. The suspect's background. Suspect's personal history provided clues, but also raised more questions. Locals described the individual as quiet yet occasionally unpredictable, someone who kept to themselves but had moments of intense emotion. There were rumors of financial disputes, unresolved personal grudges, and occasional confrontations with others in the neighborhood. While these factors painted a potential picture of motive, they were far from conclusive. Investigators were careful to separate speculation from evidence. What drove them forward was the pattern of behavior that emerged: repeated presence near the staircase, inconsistencies in alibis, and subtle indications that the suspect might have been preparing for confrontation. Psychological profiling became an important part of the investigation. Experts analyzed the suspect's behavioral patterns, past conflicts, and social interactions, attempting to understand what might have led to such a violent act. While profiling cannot prove guilt, it offered insights into the mindset of someone who could commit a crime in such a confined and exposed location. Forensic evidence and the struggle to reconstruct events. Forensic investigators faced a unique challenge. The staircase itself, while historic, was not ideal for preserving evidence. Its stone steps had been worn over decades, and public traffic meant that contamination was inevitable. Despite these obstacles, forensic teams painstakingly recovered partial fingerprints from the stair rails and nearby surfaces, footwear impressions indicating at least 2 sets of shoes, possibly the victims and the suspects. Traces of fibers and clothing caught on the steps and walls, consistent with a struggle. Each piece of evidence suggested a violent confrontation, but the exact sequence remained murky. Investigators had to use reconstruction techniques to estimate how the altercation unfolded, from the initial contact to the moment the victim was incapacitated. Interestingly, the placement of the evidence suggested that the attacker may have planned an escape route, possibly anticipating that someone could notice the incident. The suspect's familiarity with the staircase and surrounding streets became a critical point in the investigation. Interrogation and confession. After gathering sufficient evidence, authorities brought the suspect in for questioning. Interrogations were lengthy and meticulous, designed to uncover the truth without coercion. The suspect initially denied involvement, claiming to have no connection to the incident. However, as investigators presented forensic evidence, inconsistencies in alibis, and witness reports, cracks began to appear in the suspect's story. Eventually, the suspect admitted to being present on the staircase, but claimed that the encounter was accidental and that the injuries sustained by the victim were unintended. This partial confession complicated the case, raising questions about intent versus accident, a critical distinction in criminal law. Even with the confession, many aspects remained unclear. Why that staircase? Why that night? And were there others involved? Or was the suspect acting alone? The police continued to explore all avenues, recognizing that uncovering motive would be as important as establishing physical culpability. Unanswered questions and persistent mysteries. Despite the arrest, several key questions continued to haunt investigators and the people of Pavia. Motive: was the attack personal revenge, financial dispute, or a more random act of violence? Planning: was the staircase chosen deliberately? Did the suspect anticipate the presence of witnesses? Sequence of events: how exactly did the struggle unfold on those narrow, uneven steps? Accomplices: was the suspect truly alone, or were there other individuals involved who have never been identified? These unanswered questions have made the staircase mystery one of Italy's most puzzling modern cases. Even today, legal experts and true crime enthusiasts debate what truly happened on that fateful night. The media and public reaction to the arrest of the suspect captured national attention. Newspapers and TV networks covered the story extensively, highlighting the enigmatic nature of the staircase crime. Residents of Pavia were torn between relief that a suspect had been caught and unease that the full story remained unknown. Some media outlets speculated on hidden motives, suggesting connections to local feuds, financial dealings, or even personal obsession. Others focused on the bizarre nature of the crime scene, emphasizing the peculiar choice of a historic staircase as the setting for such violence. The public fascination has persisted, with many treating the case as a modern Italian mystery comparable in intrigue to famous unsolved crimes, even though a suspect was apprehended. Conclusion of Part 2. The investigation into the staircase mystery of Pavia illustrates the complexities of solving crimes that are both violent and enigmatic. The arrest of a suspect brought some clarity, but critical elements: motive, planning, and the exact sequence of events remain unresolved. The narrow staircase, dimly lit streets, and fractured witness accounts create a puzzle that continues to captivate investigators, journalists, and the public alike. In the next part of our series, we will delve into possible motives, the psychological profile of the suspect, and the strange inconsistencies that still leave this case shrouded in mystery. We'll explore how the staircase, the victim, and the suspect intertwine in a story that is as much about human psychology as it is about crime. Part 3: Motives, Mysteries, and the Unanswered Questions. As we continue to unravel the story of the staircase mystery of Pavia, it becomes clear that the case is not just a simple account of a violent act. The arrest of a suspect in the aftermath of the August 13th, 2007 incident offered some relief to authorities, yet it also opened a Pandora's box of questions. What drove the suspect to commit such a crime? Why that staircase? And why that night? And most importantly, are there hidden elements to the story that the investigation has yet to reveal? In this part of our series, we will explore the possible motives behind the attack, the lingering mysteries that have confounded investigators, and the theories that continue to circulate in Pavia and beyond. Understanding the suspect's background. Suspect in this case, identified after weeks of painstaking investigation, was a resident of Pavia with a history that, at first glance, seemed ordinary but contained subtle clues that might explain the night's events. Locals described this individual as reserved, often quiet, yet unpredictable under stress. On the surface, there was no clear indication that they were capable of violence, which only added to the mystery. Investigators noted several elements in the suspect's background that could hint at a potential motive. Personal conflicts, records, indicated minor disputes with neighbors and acquaintances, though none were violent prior to this incident. Financial stress. Some reports suggested the suspect had been facing economic difficulties, which could have contributed to heightened tension. Previous altercations, while minor, earlier confrontations suggested a pattern of agitation when confronted or challenged. Despite these findings, no definitive explanation emerged to fully account for why the suspect attacked the victim that night. The absence of a clear motive became one of the most confounding aspects of the case, raising questions about whether the act was pre-planned, spontaneous, or even part of a more complex scenario involving others. Theories about motive. Investigators and crime experts have proposed several theories to explain the motive behind the staircase attack, each with its own merits and challenges. 1. Personal revenge or conflict. Most straightforward theory is that the attack was personal in Nature. Perhaps the victim and suspect had a past disagreement that escalated into violence. However, interviews with friends, family, and neighbors indicated that the victim was largely unremarkable and well-liked, with no known enemies who might have a reason to commit such a violent act. To financial disputes, some investigators speculated that financial stress could have played a role. Perhaps the suspect and victim were involved in a business or monetary disagreement that triggered a confrontation. While there were hints of financial difficulties in the suspect's past, no concrete evidence linked these issues to the victim, leaving this theory largely speculative. 3. Opportunistic violence. Another possibility is that the attack was opportunistic, arising from a chance encounter rather than a premeditated plan. The staircase, with its dim lighting and secluded nature, may have provided the perfect environment for a sudden outburst of violence. This theory aligns with forensic evidence suggesting a struggle took place quickly, but it still leaves questions about why the victim was specifically targeted. 4. Psychological factors. Crime psychologists have also weighed in, proposing that the suspect may have acted under psychological pressure, perhaps experiencing a temporary lapse in judgment or heightened aggression. Profiling suggests that the suspect had troubling behavioral patterns that, under the right conditions, could lead to unpredictable violence. Yet, even this theory does not explain why the staircase, of all locations, became the stage for the crime. The mystery of the staircase, one of the most enduring questions in this case, is why the crime occurred on that specific staircase. Experts and locals have considered several possibilities. Familiarity with the location. The suspect may have known the staircase well, using its secluded sections as a tactical advantage. Intentional isolation. The staircase provided a spot that was not heavily trafficked at night, reducing the risk of immediate witnesses. Symbolic choice. Some theorists have suggested that the location might have held personal significance to either the victim or the suspect. Though no evidence has confirmed this, the staircase itself, once a mundane element of daily life, became an instrumental part of the crime, influencing the dynamics of the attack and the subsequent investigation. Its steep steps, narrow corridors, and worn stone surfaces created a setting where a small struggle could quickly become serious, and where evidence could be both revealing and misleading. Unresolved forensic questions. Even after extensive forensic analysis, several key questions remain. Multiple sets of footprints were found, suggesting that there may have been another person involved, or that the suspect maneuvered in ways that created misleading traces. Inconsistent fingerprint evidence left investigators unsure whether the prints matched the suspect conclusively or were contaminated by other passers-by. The sequence of the struggle remains partially speculative. Did the victim attempt to defend themselves? Did the suspect act in a premeditated manner, or was it a sudden altercation? These forensic ambiguities have fueled ongoing speculation. Even after the arrest of the suspect, experts in criminal analysis have noted that the staircase, while carefully examined, still holds secrets, and the precise movements of the attacker and victim may never be fully reconstructed. Community speculation and public fascination. Staircase incident captivated the city of Pavia. Locals debated endlessly about what really happened, and the story quickly spread beyond the city's borders. Several points of public fascination include the choice of victim. Why this individual? Many residents describe the victim as ordinary and well-liked with no known enemies. The timing, August 13th, a summer evening when the city was relatively quiet, raises questions about whether the timing was deliberate. The escape. How did the suspect manage to leave the scene without immediate capture? CCTV gaps and witness inconsistencies suggest a calculated withdrawal, or perhaps sheer luck. The case became the focus of Italian media, true crime documentaries, and discussions among criminologists. Every detail was dissected. Footprints, object placement, and witness accounts were analyzed repeatedly, but with each new theory, new questions emerged, keeping the story alive in public consciousness. Theories persist despite the arrest. Alternative theories about the crime persist. Accomplice theory. Some speculate that another individual may have helped the suspect, whether by planning, intimidation, or providing cover. No evidence has confirmed this, but forensic ambiguities leave room for doubt. Random attack theory. Another possibility is that the victim was in the wrong place, at the wrong time, targeted for reasons unknown. This aligns with the idea of opportunistic violence, but fails to explain the suspect's connection to the victim. Symbolic or ritualistic motives. A minority of theorists have suggested a more symbolic aspect to the crime, positing that the choice of staircase and timing may have held hidden meaning to the suspect. While largely speculative, these theories continue to intrigue amateur sleuths and crime enthusiasts. The psychological profile of the suspect. Criminal psychologists analyzing the case have highlighted several characteristics that may explain the suspect's actions. Impulsivity versus planning. The crime appears to involve both elements of planning: choice of staircase, escape route and impulsivity, sudden escalation of violence, environmental awareness. The suspect's familiarity with the staircase and surrounding streets suggest a deliberate choice in location, emotional triggers, personal stressors, past conflicts, or psychological pressures could have served as catalysts for the violent act. While profiling cannot replace hard evidence, it helps frame the attack within a human behavioral context, offering insight into why someone might commit violence in a seemingly ordinary setting. Conclusion of Part 3. The Pavia staircase incident is a case where every answer seems to generate new questions. The suspect's arrest provided some closure, but the true motive remains elusive, the sequence of events incomplete, and forensic ambiguities unresolved. Theories abound, from personal revenge to opportunistic violence, from hidden accomplices to psychological triggers, but no single explanation fully accounts for the attack on August 13, 2007. For the residents of Pavia, the staircase remains a symbol of both the ordinary and the inexplicable, a reminder that danger can lurk in familiar places and that even when justice is pursued, some mysteries persist. In the next part of our series, we will explore the broader implications of the case, including public perception, media coverage, and why the staircase mystery continues to capture the imagination of crime enthusiasts worldwide. We will also examine the lingering question and lessons learned from this perplexing and chilling event. Part 4. Theories, public debate, and the unsolved elements even after the arrest of the suspect in the staircase mystery of Pavia. The case remained far from resolved. August 13, 2007 had left an indelible mark on the city's consciousness, and months, even years later, questions continued to swirl around the incident. Part 3 examined the suspect's background, possible motives, and forensic ambiguities. Now, in Part 4, we turn to the theories that have emerged, the controversies in public opinion, and the aspects of the case that still defy explanation. This is where the story transcends ordinary criminal investigation and enters the realm of mystery, a story that is psychological, social, and deeply unsettling, raising the question: how much do we really understand about human behavior when tragedy strikes? Theory 1. Personal revenge and long-standing feuds. One of the most widely discussed explanations among law enforcement and local residents is that the attack was motivated by personal revenge. In small communities, unresolved disputes can fester, and while the suspect's official record did not indicate a history of violent crime, investigators identified several minor conflicts with neighbors, acquaintances, and even the victim. Supporters of this theory argue that the confrontation on the staircase could have been the culmination of a personal grievance long in the making, an encounter that escalated unexpectedly. However, detractors point out that the severity of the attack seems disproportionate to any known conflicts. Why would a minor dispute turn into such a violent and public incident, particularly on a staircase that offered both visibility and risk? The revenge theory also raises questions about timing. August 13th, a summer evening, was not a date that corresponded to any known personal milestones or anniversaries for the suspect or victim. If revenge were the driving force, why choose this particular night? Theory 2. Opportunistic violence. Another theory suggests that the attack was opportunistic, a crime of chance rather than premeditation. This is partially supported by forensic analysis, which indicates that the struggle may have escalated rapidly and without extensive planning. In this scenario, the victim may have encountered the suspect in a moment of misfortune, and a confrontation spiraled into violence. This would explain some of the inconsistencies in eyewitness accounts and the lack of clear motive. Yet this theory is not without its flaws. The staircase was not a random spot. It was secluded enough to give the attacker an advantage, but also central enough that an encounter there was unusual. Could this truly have been a spontaneous act, or does the staircase itself suggest a deliberate choice? Theory 3. Accomplices and hidden participants. Forensic evidence has long fueled speculation about the possible involvement of others. Footprints and traces at the scene suggested movement that could not be fully explained by the victim and the suspect alone. Some analysts propose that a second individual may have been present, perhaps assisting the suspect or providing cover during the attack. While there is no concrete proof of accomplices, this theory persists in public debate. Residents of Pavia have shared anecdotes of unusual activity near the staircase in the days leading up to the incident. Although none of these accounts were verified, the idea of a hidden participant raises further questions. If someone else was involved, were they acting under coercion, voluntarily assisting, or perhaps entirely orchestrating the event from the shadows? The lack of clarity keeps this theory alive in the minds of investigators and armchair detectives alike. Theory 4. Psychological or emotional triggers. Some experts suggest that the suspect's actions may have been driven by psychological factors rather than a tangible motive. Stress, unresolved personal issues, or mental health challenges could have amplified aggression, turning a routine encounter into a violent confrontation. Behavioral profiling indicates that the suspect may have experienced a heightened emotional state, which, combined with the opportunity provided by the secluded staircase, created the conditions for the attack. However, psychological explanations cannot account for all the details. The choice of staircase, the timing, and the apparent planning suggested by forensic evidence indicate that, even if emotion played a role, there was likely some element of deliberate action. Public debate and media scrutinized staircase mystery did not remain confined to police files. Local and national media quickly picked up the story, amplifying its mysterious and unsettling aspects. Coverage focused not only on the crime itself, but also on the unanswered questions. Why that staircase, and why at that time? Was the suspect acting alone, or is there more to the story? Could there be factors that the police have yet to uncover? Residents of Pavia were divided. Some believed that the suspect's arrest provided closure and that the case had been largely solved. Others remained convinced that critical pieces of the puzzle were missing, pointing to the staircase itself as a symbol of mystery, a place both familiar and strange. Ordinary yet dark, true crime enthusiasts and journalists speculated endlessly. The story featured in several Italian news outlets and became a case study in how forensic ambiguity, minor discrepancies in witness accounts, and psychological complexity can keep a case unsolved in the public imagination. Unexplained elements that persist despite the arrest and investigation. Several elements of the staircase mystery remain unresolved. Exact sequence of events. Forensic reconstruction provides clues, but not a definitive timeline. How did the struggle begin, escalate, and conclude? Choice of location. Why this staircase? Was it random, opportunistic, symbolic, or strategic? Presence of other individuals, footprints, and traces hint at the possibility of an accomplice or a witness whose identity remains unknown. Suspects' motives, even with confession or partial admission. The underlying reason for the attack remains unclear. Was it revenge, impulsive violence, financial stress, or something more personal? These unanswered questions contribute to the enduring fascination with the case. Each theory provides a partial explanation, but none completely solves the puzzle. The staircase as a psychological symbol beyond its physical role in the crime. The staircase has taken on a symbolic meaning in the public imagination. It represents ambiguity. The staircase is both familiar and unknown, ordinary and terrifying. Transition. Stairs often symbolize movement or change. In this case, they mark the transition from ordinary life to sudden violence. Unresolved tension. Like the case itself, the staircase remains a place of questions, where every step prompts another mystery. For residents and criminologists alike, the staircase is no longer just architecture. It is a nexus of fear, curiosity, and speculation. The lasting impact on Pavia crime's impact on the city cannot be understated. Residents reported feeling uneasy walking near the staircase. Even years later, the case sparked discussions about public safety, community awareness, and the unpredictability of violence. Local authorities increased patrols, and some businesses and residents took extra precautions during evening hours. For investigators, the case became a benchmark in complexity, a crime that was technically solved with the arrest of a suspect, yet left investigators wrestling with lingering questions about motive, planning, and psychological dynamics. Conclusion. Apart from the staircase mystery of Pavia is a story where the answers never fully satisfy, and each resolution opens new questions. Multiple theories ranging from personal revenge to psychological triggers, opportunistic violence to possible accomplices attempt to explain the crime, yet none fully captures the enigmatic nature of what happened on August 13, 2007. The arrest of the suspect offered closure in a legal sense, but in the hearts and minds of the public, the mystery remains alive. The staircase, the victim, and the suspect continue to intrigue, reminding us that some crimes are never fully solved, that even when the law acts, human curiosity and the shadows of ambiguity persist. In the final part of this series, we will explore the trial, the community's response, and the enduring legacy of the staircase mystery, along with the lessons it leaves for law enforcement, criminology, and society at large. Part 5, The Trial, Legacy, and Unanswered Mysteries. The staircase mystery of Pavia, which began on the night of August 13, 2007, has captivated the city, criminologists, and true crime enthusiasts for nearly 2 decades. After the arrest of a suspect, months of investigation, and years of speculation, the case finally moved toward legal closure. Yet, as with much of the staircase mystery, closure came with more questions than answers. In this final part of our series, we examine the trial proceedings, the reactions of the community, the lessons learned from the case, and the lingering enigmas that continue to surround the historic staircase in northern Italy. The trial begins. Suspect's trial began several months after their arrest. The Italian legal system, known for its meticulous approach, ensured that every piece of evidence, every witness testimony, and every forensic detail would be presented in court. The prosecution built a case based on forensic evidence, partial fingerprints, footprints, and fibers collected from the staircase and surrounding area. Witness statements, accounts from neighbors and passersby, albeit inconsistent, that placed the suspect near the scene. Behavioral inconsistencies, the suspect's initial denial of being present and contradictions in alibis. The defense, however, challenged the reliability of the evidence, arguing that contamination and circumstantial ambiguity rendered the forensic evidence inconclusive. They suggested that the suspect may have been wrongly identified, or that the confrontation may have been accidental rather than intentional. Key testimony of several witnesses testified about the evening of August 13th. A neighbor recalled hearing a scuffle, but admitted they could not see the attacker clearly. A shopkeeper noted seeing someone matching the suspect's description near the staircase. Around the time of the incident, forensic experts detailed the footwear impressions and fingerprints, emphasizing the difficulty of reconstructing events on the uneven stone steps. Despite conflicting testimonies, the court had to weigh the credibility of each witness, the chain of forensic evidence, and the plausibility of alternative scenarios. The verdict and sentencing. After weeks of deliberation, the court found the suspect guilty of assault causing serious bodily harm. While the conviction provided some sense of justice, it did not satisfy the public's curiosity. Many questions remained: the true motive behind the attack, possibility of other participants with the staircase, and why that specific ninth sentence, while legally appropriate, could not erase the uncertainty that still hangs over the case. Pavia's residents continue to debate, theorize, and speculate about the true story behind the staircase attack. Community impact. Staircase mystery had a profound effect on the city. Locals, once accustomed to walking the staircase without thought, now approached it with caution and curiosity. Safety measures were increased, including better lighting and occasional police patrols. Residents became more vigilant, particularly during late hours. The case sparked community discussions about violence, conflict resolution, and the unpredictable nature of crime. Schools, local historians, and journalists have kept the story alive, ensuring that the staircase remains a symbol of caution, mystery, and intrigue. Media and global attention. The case also drew attention beyond Italy. True crime enthusiasts and international media were fascinated by the combination of historical setting, forensic ambiguity, and unresolved questions. Documentaries, articles, and podcasts dissected every element: the suspect's profile and psychological background, possible motives, and inconsistencies in evidence's symbolism of the staircase and its place in Pavia's history. Its global interest highlights how mystery transcends borders and how a seemingly local incident can spark worldwide curiosity. Lingering mysteries even after the trial and conviction. Several critical elements remain unsolved. Exact sequence of the struggle. Forensic reconstruction provides a general outline, but many details remain speculative. Choice of staircase. Why this particular location? And could it have symbolic significance? Potential accomplices. Traces suggest the possibility of another person, but no additional suspects were identified. Underlying motive. While the conviction addressed the act itself, the psychological or situational reasons remain unclear. These unanswered questions keep the story alive in the imagination of Pavia's residents, criminologists, and the global true crime community. The staircase remains a silent witness, holding secrets that may never be fully revealed. Lessons from the staircase mystery. The Pavia case offers several important lessons. For law enforcement, criminology, and society, crime is not always predictable. Even ordinary locations can become sites of extraordinary violence. Evidence interpretation is crucial. Forensic analysis, eyewitness testimony, and circumstantial clues must all be carefully weighed. Psychological profiling matters. Understanding human behavior can provide insights, even when motive is unclear. Public curiosity and media attention. High-profile cases impact communities, shaping perception, awareness, and even fear. Above all, the case demonstrates that justice can be achieved without answering every question. And that's the mysteries endure, challenging our understanding of crime and human behavior. The staircase today. Years later, the staircase in Pavia has returned to its daily function as part of the city's historic landscape. Residents walk its steps, tourists climb it without realizing the dark chapter that occurred there. But for those who remember August 13th, 2007, the staircase is more than stone, and steps. It is a silent monument to mystery and human unpredictability. Crime enthusiasts still visit Pavia to see the staircase, photograph it, and imagine what might have happened on that fateful night. In books, documentaries, and online forums, theories continue to flourish. And while the suspect is behind bars, the staircase retains its mystique, a reminder that not all stories can be fully explained. conclusion that end in the questions that remain. Staircase mystery of Pavia is a story of violence, investigation, and lingering questions. The arrest and trial provided legal resolution, yet the true motive, potential accomplices, and symbolic choice of location remain elusive. It is a case that demonstrates how history, environment, and human behavior intertwine, creating a mystery that continues to captivate and unsettle. The staircase, once a mere part of Pavia's daily life, now embodies curiosity, fear, and the limits of human understanding. For investigators, journalists, and the public, the staircase mystery is a reminder that crime often defies simple explanation, and that even when justice is served, some questions will forever linger in the shadows. Call to action though, we want to hear from you. What do you think really happened on the staircase in Pavia on August 13, 2007? Was the attack a crime of passion, premeditated violence, or something more sinister involving unknown accomplices? How do you think communities can learn from unsolved mysteries like this? To improve public safety, leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Your perspective could offer fresh insights into one of Italy's most puzzling modern cases. And if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe to Room 57 for more chilling true crime stories, mysterious cases, and deep dives into the darkest corners of human behavior. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and never stop questioning the unknown.